previously on Guidefitter.
You ready, man?
Let's go. Let's do it.
I know you get frustrated as a guide, but you gotta understand hunters get frustrated too.
They don't care. Do I sound that bad?
The action finally started to pick up in Montana.
In the end, we knew he was only grazed.
It's been so long, those long hard days. They don't say God's changed my ways, 'cause I ain't changed my ways.
It's the second week of the big game rifle season.
I planned and prepared for months in anticipation of my Montana big game hunt. The only negative part of that planning was that for the first time out west, I wasn't going to be hunting with any of my boys.
Before the hunt even got started, we had a little surprise up our sleeve for Ron. See, his son Bryan decided to show up and spend a couple days hunting with him, and he had no idea what was going on.
I pulled into Rawhide. I met up with Lenny Miller, who had arranged for my dad to be off-site at a shooting range getting his gunshot in after his flight. So we had about 15 minutes to set up the surprise.
Man, it's going to get ugly quick.
Hey, Dad.
Ah! You got to be kidding me. First person I see is my son, Bryan. That was a real surprise.
What's happening?
Hey, bud.
Nice to see
Oh,
you.
that's great.
Nice to see you.
Hey, the gun's working.
You hitting anything?
If I miss, it's my fault, not the gun.
All right.
In the morning, we got this big weather system moving in, which we've been waiting for all week because it was pretty hot. So this is going to be pretty good. We had action right out of the chute. All right, it's the first morning of Bryan's hunt here, second week of rifle season, Montana. We were coming up here to look for elk, and we just spotted a pretty good mule deer buck bedded down. He's 3 draws down, so we're going to try to slip down this main draw and cut up and get him killed. Pretty good buck. We got right in on the buck. We were 300 yards from him. We had to set up and shoot quick because as we moved up the hill, he saw us right away. Ready. Kill him when you get it. Kill him.
Frustration set in as things didn't work out just the way we planned.
What happened?
I should have been okay. And I had to remind myself, that's why it's called hunting. I had a horrible angle though.
Yeah, overall it was game over. It's a big old, we think he's like a 3x2. He's just a big old deer, pretty wide. So we're gonna head back to the truck. We're gonna head out this ridge then and see if we can find anything of him. Pretty sure he's missed, but we're gonna run down there and give it a look. We went over, we checked it out. Nothing, it was no good. We walked back to the truck and we were making a game plan for what we were gonna do. And we looked down into another draw and we found him. He was down there feeding. We watched him bed down. He's not in a spot where we can get on him at this point, so we're just gonna back out and head over and look at some different country, see what else we can find. We got a herd of antelope spotted. They're down here probably 3/4 of a mile. Pretty tough spot, nothing else going on. So we're gonna slip down there and see if we can get close to them. They're basically in the middle of a wheat field, and we got a bunch of cows to watch out for. Our goats are still down here in place. The wind's still ripping. They're up feeding now. We got a couple little swales to get through. And then the last knob down there's a bunch of cattle. We got to get to that point without boogering them. Then we might have a shot. Our biggest issue right now is the wind. We're gonna have to try to sneak out there. Another 50, 60 yards before we're gonna be able to tell anything.
When stalking in open country, it's important to stay as low to the ground as possible.
If I get out there another 40, 50 yards, whatever, and set up, and hopefully that bigger buck stands up. As we were sneaking up on this goat, I was worried about what was over the horizon. And when that goat stood up, I didn't feel comfortable letting Ron take the shot for multiple reasons. Before going into the main part of my hunting area in the morning, I like to glass as much of it as possible. We spotted a buck. He was headed up a draw, and then he blew out. What the freak is going on? About a half hour ago, we spotted a big buck. He was coming up into this one draw that all the other does and stuff went to. A coyote got in there and boogered him and pushed him out into this bigger draw on this backside. So we're gonna have to work to find him. He's a real good buck. This is his last day today, so he's up at bat on the deer. You guys stay high, kind of along that fence line, and head down where that rock outcropping comes, and cut back into the draw. I can't believe he would have left this draw. There was really no point for him to do it. So hopefully he's right there in that little cove. And once you hit that rock, you'll be able to look up that little finger draw there. And if you don't find him, on around to the left's that willow where we bow hunted in September, and I'll pick you guys up there. Bryan and Ron hunted that draw all the way to the bottom, but they never spotted that buck. I'm sitting here in the pickup for the last 2.5 hours. We've been looking for this buck we saw first thing this morning, and we couldn't find him in this draw that I thought he went in. So we decided to come up a 2-track after we had walked it down looking for him, and the sucker was bedded right underneath a rock outcropping that we thought that he would be bedded in. But when we looked there, he wasn't there. So at some point we had to have passed each other. He must have been down in the bottom. And we've now been in a standoff with him for 15 minutes. There's nothing we can do. At this point, we gotta wait for him to bed back down. Well, after watching this buck for about a half hour, the one we've been chasing since just after daylight, he bedded down. We got slipped out around. We gotta climb the ridge behind us. And we should get about a 200-yard crack at him. So we're gonna drop in, we're gonna head up there and knock down your first mule deer. Let's do it.
We made it as far as we could along the wall. Then we ran into a problem, and that problem was a barbed wire fence. There was a barbed wire fence blocking us from getting any further, and we couldn't see the muley. We probably needed to get about another 75 yards up, which meant taking all of our gear, including the camera gear and backpacks, under the fence to see if we could get closer. We're getting in very, very close to this mule deer. The wind gusts are back, like we had yesterday on the pronghorn hunt, but that's actually covering our sound getting in close. It looks like we're closing in to about 150, maybe 200 yards, a lot closer than we thought we were gonna be.
All it takes is one loose rock to get kicked down the side of the bank, and the hunt will be over.
We're climbing over loose scree rocks, trying not to slip and fall down this very steep bank.
We got up to the edge, the buck was still bedded there, and he had no idea. We're 160 yards away, and we're getting set up to make the shot. Kill him.
He's not getting up.
Good job, man.
Oh,
All
that was
that.
one heck of a start. Well, that's my first mule deer right there, boys.
We spotted him right after daylight this morning. We were actually standing right here like 3 hours ago looking for him because we thought he was coming in here. Wasn't here, and we hunted this whole draw clean down Never found him. Brought the truck around and decided to head over to check out another draw, and as we're driving up, he's bedded right here where we thought he was going to be earlier. Game over.
My first Montana mule deer. Very excited with Rawhide, Guide Service, and Lenny Miller here. We put a long stalk on this boy starting this morning, and it reminds me of a long stalk we put on another mule deer first week of archery season when I was up here. Lenny and I put on a long stalk that didn't pan out, but this one did pan out, and I only had 2 days to come up here and hunt with my dad to surprise him, and I've had some fun with him, and I was gonna be heading out this afternoon anyway to head back to catch my flight. So really happy this came together and pulled it off. It's awesome.
You did.
There you go.
Pulled it off, man.
Yeah, I could just barely hear a poof, but yeah, I knew what was going on.
Bryan Koontz is a killer in Montana.
Sweet. On the loose.
None of us thought it would happen, but it did.
Gee, thanks. Wow.
After sitting in the blind all morning, Lenny decided to take Ron and see if they could get on an antelope.
We couldn't locate any antelope that we wanted to pursue, so we headed back to the blind for the afternoon. It's the third evening of Ron's hunt, and we're back in the same blind we were in this morning, watching ahead of these draws because we had seen a pretty decent buck up here. And had some weather roll in. It's raining, it's blowing. They were saying 50, 55 mile an hour. We've only seen 2 does so far this evening. But the good news is we're in our hunter's comfort blind and we're nice and toasty. It's morning 4 of Ron's hunt. We'd been waiting to go after the antelope until like midday. But this morning we decided to switch it up a little bit. So we're coming in here first thing. They're probably half a mile or so out here in this wheat field. So we're gonna work down there and see if we can't get it done here this morning. The antelope are down a little draw back here, about 400, 500 yards. We're gonna keep working out there until we can see him, and hopefully we can set up here and get a shot. It's pretty windy again, but that's typical of Western hunting. Well, turns out the antelope hunting was just as frustrating as what the elk hunting was. We had the goats, we were on them every day, but something always went wrong.
We waited for them and we waited for them. I'm not sure how long we were there. I'd say at least a half hour. And the cows kept coming and going. The goats would stand up, graze a little bit, and then they would lay back down. And finally, it looked like it was going to happen. Getting ready to go. And I don't know whether they saw me or they saw us or what happened, but all of a sudden they spooked and took off. And then we noticed they began to circle around to the right and came around almost behind us. Now they're within about 300 yards. And I took a shot at the biggest goat. He was one of 3 on the tail end of the herd. I felt good about the shot, but I didn't hit.
Well, we're in day 5 of Ron's hunt. Still chasing antelope. Down here where we started yesterday morning with the antelope, there's 4 or 5 back in there, 2 bucks. So we're gonna slip down here again and see if we can't make something work this time.
We walked a couple of 100 yards, and we got to the point that we had to get down and start to crawl again. I realized that if you're gonna hunt with Lenny Miller as your guide, you need to be issued knee pads. But we crawled and crawled, and finally we got within range. We could see the goats. The cattle were in and out, around the goats, in front of the goats, behind the goats. And finally, there was a clearing, and the best goat stood up.
The one on the left. Yep.
They took off, and I thought, not again.
Hold on, hold on, hold on. Get back up, back on the scope. Make sure he's clear. He's the one on the right. Watch the doe. Right there.
Victory at last.
After Ron shot his goat, one of the most unusual things I've ever seen happen. I've been guiding for 17 years. I've been around cattle all my life. I've never had a problem with cows. And when this goat hits the ground, these cows react in a way that had me a little spooked. Well, this is the oddest thing. We snuck in here, took us an hour and a half, whatever, crawl up. We get this goat shot, and when he goes down, all these cows rush over. The one was actually kicking and pawing at him, and this one back here is still bawling. Never seen anything like it. I'm not sure if we should get the heck out of here. What the heck's going on? I have no idea. We've really been chasing these boogers hard the last couple days, and after another 20-minute wait waiting for cows to clear, Ron got a shot, made it count, and this is the result. About a 13-inch buck. Quite a few of them have already lost. We were watching a real good one earlier. He already lost his horns. This one was getting ready to drop today, but we got him before that happened. Anyhow, Ron, congrats.
Thanks, Lenny. Really appreciate it, bud. A lot of hard work.
We did 3 separate hunts here in Montana with Guidefitter, and we did them a little different than most TV shows would normally do their show. Instead of coming on primetime dates when you expect to have the greatest action, we wanted to do it a little different. So Bryan was here. He was here the first hunt in bow season. It's hot, and this time we threw a full moon into the mix there. Steve came first week of October. Again, full moon. Ron, first week of November. Again, full moon. And we did this purposely to kind of show you that, you know, it's not always what you see on a lot of these other TV shows where it's bulls and bow season just screaming and running in. It's tough. That doesn't happen every day, every hunt. You know, a 6-7 day hunt, you might get 1 or 2 days that are cranked up like that. And that's exactly what we had there during the full moon when we did it at the beginning of September and the beginning of October.
After 17 years of guiding, Lenny gets a chance to do something he's only ever done one other time.
We're back here in Montana. The season's winding down, and I finally get a chance to go hunting. We have 150, 200 head down here in the field. There's quite a few bulls, and that's what we're going to try for. We got a couple days left. Robert and I got to get out of here by Friday, and this is the day before Thanksgiving. So, you know, I'm 90 some days into hunting season here, and would love to be able to put an elk on the ground for myself. I've only ever killed 1 bull in 17 years of doing this. And I got to go ahead to shoot a bull this year, so that's what we're going to try for. If it gets down to it, we'll take a cow. Right now the big herd's laid up out in the grain field, and there's a couple starting to peel off from them, and they're coming into this draw right below us. We're going to sneak down here as low as we think we can get and kind of set up and see what they do. The milk, they've broke off. They're starting to filter out to the green field where they were earlier this morning. We have very little cover here to play with, and we got to move. We got several hundred yards we got to go without anything. And I'm hoping Robert and I are staying pretty close together, that they're not going to think anything about it. There's been cattle in here. I'm keeping my fingers crossed. That's what they think we are. It's our only shot here. Go figure. Today, when it's just me elk hunting, the elk do exactly what I want them to do. Unfortunately, the big bulls broke away from the main herd, but today, for the first time in my life as a hunter, I really didn't care about the size of the antlers. Holy cow, man. We just thought that herd blew out of there. The herd with the big bulls in it. A few elk broke off, 20, 30 head, and there was one bull in it. I don't know what he is, how big he is or anything. I know he was a legal bull. He hesitated right there at the fence. I shot, and he went 30 yards and fell over. You know, I've guided. We're 90, 100 some days into it. I can't even tell you what it is, but finally got the chance to get an elk tag, and tomorrow's Thanksgiving. Robert and I, we have got to get out of here Friday morning to get to Ohio by Sunday, and I'm not a real excitable guy, I guess, when it comes to me shooting one. I'm tickled to death we got it. Turned out a real good deal. You guide all year. You take other people, elk and deer and antelope and everything else that we guide for up here in Montana. And to finally get a chance to shoot one myself, it's pretty rewarding. Sometimes you don't get the range.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's real thick. Let her rip, tater chip.
What if the arrow goes flying over his head?
My job's done.